I love it when you get weird. I'm only weird when I'm with you. If that doesn't scream love, folks, then I don't know what does. People We Meet on Vacation is a Netflix original based on a novel by Emily Henry, and it took three people to adapt this to the big or silver or TV screen, streaming device, streaming screen, however we want to put it. Look, when it comes to these streaming projects, it's really hard to tell how we lock them into one particular thing. But that being said, three people seems a little busy, but nevertheless, this was also directed by Brett Haley, more on him in a bit, and this features Emily Bader. You know, I understand that her dad was very, very rich, to the point that he had a waiting staff. He even had a butler. They had to call him Master Well, anyway, Emily Bader was in a few projects, including Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. Who remembers that movie? If you do, I'm sorry. It wasn't her fault, but I'm so sorry you remember that. She plays Poppy. No, not the singer that disagrees and has performed on NXT a few times. Poppy is an adventurous young lass who loves to travel the world. She even does vacation blogs and talks about her various travels and also has a long-standing relationship with a boy named Alex, played by Tom Blyth, or Blythe, however you say it. He was the younger President Snow in Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snacks. No Step on Snack. That also featured Rachel Zegler. It wasn't Tom's fault or Rachel's fault that that movie was kind of But that being said, two likable young actors in a Netflix rom-com coming-of-age thing that travels over numerous years to the point that we start in the present day and then we go backwards. We see how they originally met on a road trip to Linfield, Ohio, that apparently is a place people want to go to. I've never been to Ohio, so I don't really know. Probably be the same thing if anybody wanted to come to Marysville, Washington. Why would you want to come to Marysville, Washington? Nobody likes Marysville, Washington. If you think you do, you're wrong. Yes, I've lived here and I will defend my town to the very day I die, but anybody that wants to come here is wrong. No, in all seriousness, home is where the heart is, or where the tart is, or where you fart. I don't really know how that saying goes. That being said, People We Meet on Vacation has received quite a bit of praise, and to the point that I was like, okay, you know what, this isn't necessarily my thing. But then when I looked at Brett Haley's previous work, including some television projects, he also did All Together Now in All the Bright Places. The latter of which actually made me want to walk into traffic because of how depressing it was. It was really good, but man, oh man, I knew it was coming. I knew it was. If you know, you know. Not that All Together Now didn't have its sad moments, but nevertheless, those are two movies I praised pretty highly in 2020. God, it's hard to believe that was nearly 6 years ago that I reviewed those movies. But we also have other actors in this. We have an on-again, off-again girlfriend of Alex's, Sarah, played by Sarah Catherine Hook, who evidently they didn't trust her to actually remember another name. She was in White Lotus and Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. You know, when the Conjuring franchise really started to go downhill. Not her fault, but that being said, Lucas Cage is in this, who was in How to Blow Up a Pipeline. And we also have Jamelia Jamil, who was in A Merry Little Xmas. She was the very British woman that was in there. She's British in this. I assume she actually is British. But we also have a character named Trey that is played by Lucien Lavacourt, who is in The Bye-Bye Man. Yeah, The Bye-Bye Man. That was certainly a movie. It's also in a project called Snatch, not the Guy Ritchie one. So yeah, that's enough talking about those, those cast members and stuff like that. So how's the movie? Well, it won me the fuck over way more than I expected. I didn't expect to laugh and almost tear up watching this. And yes, it's sappy. Yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it's typical. And you know how it's going to go. But the chemistry between Emily and Tom is unfucking deniable. They work well because they are literally opposites attracting. Though we don't get that Paula Abdul song, but we get Forever My Girl, or Forever Your Girl, rather, in this particular project, which they needle drop it twice. They also do a Nat King Cole song. They do a Robin song. Hang With Me, but I didn't actually expect that. And we got songs from Taylor Swift, various others, and everything. The soundtrack features a lot of Neil Dross, but the Paula Abdul song actually ends up being a theme for this. And it's sweet and endearing. And how dare you be endearing? How dare you get to me, people we meet on vacation? How dare you? How dare you do that? If you were into rom-coms and you were into the previous movies that I mentioned all together now, in all the right places, this is less depressing than those. It does have an uplifting reveal, which that's not really a spoiler for those that have read the books, but I'm going to talk about it in spoilers here in a minute. But yeah, Emily and Tom really did work well together. Poppy being the much more out there and adventurous, and Alex wanting to be more of the settling down type, but also enjoying his time with Poppy. The chemistry, undeniable. And clearly, this was a thing that was going to develop over time. But the vacation bopping back and forth might be a bit dizzying for some, but they handled it well. Brett has this thing on lock. So I am going to get into spoilers. It's on Netflix now, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, she's just a boy. He's just, no, wait, that's not. She loves a boy. He loves a girl. Can they make it any more obvious? That's the line I was going to go with. Let's just leave that little blip in. But on vacation, you can be anyone you want. You can be anyone you need. You can be anyone that wants to buy some strange old weed. I don't think that's how Vertical Horizon sung their song. Being on vacation is great, and honestly, Poppy does like doing that. And yeah, well, shit. The movie's starting to win me over pretty quickly. We kind of start, where our movie basically will end up as far as, getting, right at the very end is really where we get back to the current timeline. We have Alex's brother David and his main squeeze getting together. It's a gay relationship. Nothing wrong with that. We support LGBTQ people here. And we find out basically that things are not great between Alex and Poppy, and then we find out how things were great and why they weren't great after a while. It's a reconnecting thing. I do say that, good God, Emily Rock's address at one point is absolutely, she's enchanting. So we get 9 summers ago, they met on a road trip because it turns out, or met going on a road trip because it turns out they both grew up in Linfield, Ohio. And she's eating a breakfast burrito in the car, and we get some crazy, we get some mess, and, clearly he's just like, he could never love somebody like her, even be friends with her, but obviously they do end up, sharing secrets, sharing stuff. She ends up basically being a little more out there. They end up having to wait for AAA and then get a hotel because the keys got locked in the car at a gas station. And that she was an outsider and basically got bullied and made fun of because of the 7 minutes of heaven in the closet. But instead of kissing, she did a little something more to the guy. That's the rumor and innuendo, or innuendo, as it were. She never shared that without basically being laughed at, and he wasn't going to laugh at her. Clearly, chemistry right away. Alex says maybe traveling isn't that bad. And then we go back to current day. So he is talking to her on the phone. She kind of makes up a whole thing where she was supposed to go to another area, but says, oh, my work is going to do this in Barcelona. Because she realizes she needs to fix things with him. We find out why in a little bit. Her boss wants her basically to get back into writing and stuff like that. So says, go ahead and do this. Bring me a piece on Barcelona and stuff like that. And then Hang With Me by Robin plays. And she's listening on headphones. And then he sees her. And then we go to 8 summers ago. They're going to go do some camping. Alan Ruck and Molly Shannon make an appearance as her parents. Molly bought an insane amount of condoms. I mean, that was where did she get those? Costco? Genuinely, that's a lot of shrink wrap packaging for shrink wrapping your package. And then Alan and Tom are basically talking about certain things. He's scared of flying, but the way he's worrying it makes it sound like he's scared of sex. No, we're not like that or whatever. We're just friends. He had a breakup Alex had with Sarah, so that's why they're going on vacation. And him and Sarah would always have an on again, off again thing. And I get the on again, off again thing, but it got a little ridiculous after a bit. But name my relationship, it's fine. And they end up doing the camping. They even find a wood carving of a Bigfoot that they end up carrying with them, and ends up making an appearance later. They meet a guy that takes them boating. They go to another campsite that's like almost a concubine thing. Not a concubine, but a community thing. And vacation, Alex should do stupid shit like sleep with this one girl or go skinny dipping. But then he loses his clothes being swept out to sea. So while Poppy is hooking up with this one guy that has a tattoo of death or something like that, and they get all worried about things, she basically ends up helping out Alex. He ends up kind of wearing her romper because he doesn't have any clothes until they get back to their vacation spot. So, yeah, it was kind of funny. She was high as fuck. That was actually, a fine running gag. And he says, how about this? They're talking, and how about this? Every summer, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, whoever we're with, we meet somewhere around the world for a trip. Deal. Yeah, that part got to me too, because I'm like, oh, that's sweet. And how dare you be endearing? Again, by the way. And we see that they met at the airport. Now we go back to current day. We see that they're at this nice place that's apparently being renovated, or at least the porch is being renovated, because they have the plastic covering over. So now it's really, really hot. Granted, it probably is hot in Barcelona. But now we go 6 summers ago to New Orleans. Her hair's all poofy. The poppy poof, as it were. And Hello, Hello, Hello by Remy Wolf plays a remix. I didn't write the remix name down. But they pretend to be honeymooners in New Orleans so they can get free shit, because they see one couple that actually did get engaged that is going to, or married and whatever. So then later, after getting stuff and just partying and everything, and her wearing a blue wig, they meet that couple, and then they make up a scenario about how they met. That he's in the CIA, she works on oil rigs, and that he had really great dance moves to win her over. And then Paula Abdul, Forever Your Girl, plays again, and he busts a whole bunch of moves and actually really can dance. I mean, actually dances pretty goddamn well, all things considered. I mean, I can't dance for shit. Like as Phil Collins once said, Paul Collins. Who the hell's Paul Collins? So they have this thing where it looks like they're gonna kiss. Not yet. Not yet. Hello when you're weird. I'm only weird when I'm with you. And yeah, okay. But there you go. You can't be weird with somebody. Who can you be weird with? So how do you know if you're with the one? What's actually, what actually leads to, and that she's always kind of in and out of relationships. He's in and out of being with Sarah. And there's a guy that she was with, Julian, that doesn't end up working out. And I thought they were going to needle drop Gin Blossom's Hate Jealousy, but I guess I would have been too old for this, even though they referenced Nat King Cole at one point, and I think he's a little older than the Gin Blossoms. But back to the hotel. He has a back spasm thing. We all have that at a certain age. And he needed to rest on it, with some ice, but then the next day he always goes for a morning run. More on that here in a bit. She hates running. She actually mentioned that on the college road trip. And then she's going to sleep on the couch while he rests. And then a Norway trip is referenced where she couldn't go, but her company paid for it, so she wanted him to go. But he came to take care of her while she was sick. God damn it. And I wrote down, he showed up to make her feel better instead. I'm like, oh, good Lord. Stop being so endearing, movie. And I'm not even saying that like, in a bad way. Like, it's just usually these movies don't get to me. Maybe I'm getting maybe I'm getting softer in my old age. It happens. That's why little blue pills exist. But I said, holy hell, Emily in that dress. Oh, my God, was it cold enough there? I'm sorry. Emily looked great. But then a reunion with the family, and they miss each other clearly. But then Tuscany is brought up, and this is where things blew up and why they hadn't talked in a couple years. Alex and Sarah arrive. They're back together, and Poppy has Trey, who is kind of a full-on dick, shall we say. Clearly, they're meant for each other. Even Sarah makes references to the fact that he's always texting her. She's always texting him. And Poppy and Trey are nomads, kind of having this life. She ends up having morning sickness, possibly. She has an app, though, that indicates she's pregnant. She's not. But then they do finally kiss because she's overcome with emotion and he's being there for her, and she felt bad because she didn't want to ruin the friendship when obviously she has feelings for him and obviously he has feelings for her. She was just confused. She didn't mean it. She did mean it, but she can't say it. She just can't quite get that commitment. And then the next day he pops a question to Sarah and they have a bit of a fight. Not him and Sarah, but him and Poppy. He's not going to do any more traveling. He's going to stay in Linfield and teach while she takes over the family real estate business. Sounds more like what Sarah wants, but there you are. And then we go basically back to present day. He ghosted her for 2 years. The engagement was called off. And the engagement was called off because it was because of her. And not that it was necessarily just her fault. It was clear that no matter what, it was all going to go back to them coming back together. And now they're all over each other in the rain and in bed and as they're trying to go to the wedding. But then he's trying to come up with a plan possibly to keep this going. She's like, no, let's not ruin this with an itinerary. I'm saying, don't you blow this, Poppy. I'm getting invested. I shouldn't be getting invested. This is not my type of movie. And love has never been their problem. But they separate. She sees Sarah as a flight attendant. And Sarah even said, I used to blame you for this, but I don't anymore. And basically, Poppy tenders her resignation with a great write-up about her trip and about how maybe she needs to go back. And because it referenced something earlier where were some places you want to go, and he had mentioned Linfield. And then a little bit earlier, he had headphones in, by the way, doing his morning run after his back issues, and she couldn't get through to him until she surprised him when he saw her. So she goes back to his house to knock on the door, and great wide shot. We get him going down the fence line. He starts running. She's trying to chase after him, yelling and stuff like that. You might think, somebody's going to get hit in traffic. No, this is not like All the Bright Places. That wasn't traffic. That was a lot more sinister. But nevertheless, she... God damn it. Anyway, she says she hates running, but she chases him. And that if she said she always feared if she stayed in one place too long, everyone would see she was too much, including him. But that they're meant to be together. And it's like, it's not a home if you're not there, is basically what it is. You're not a vacation to me, Alex, you're home. Again, if that ain't love, I don't know what is. They get out of the road, by the way, because they were blocking traffic. To say all this, they kiss. Next summer, they have a dachshund, a short-haired dachshund. And they have the wood-carved Bigfoot. And then They're on the beach having a vacation. She's dressed as a 60s beach girl for some reason. And those chairs are way too close to the ocean, and then that is it. And we get poppy music for I mean, not literally her singing, but we get pop-up music for the credits. And that is people we met on vacation, or people we meet on vacation. Met, meet, whatever. You say tomato, I say how dare you be so endearing. Netflix original rom-com. So yeah, A+. Fuck it. Fuck it. Yeah, maybe I'm being generous. This is the third A+ grade I've given out already. And I'm only a few movies into the year. But that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland. Until we revisit the Netflix original pile again, happy trails to you.